are stories that connect us to ourselves and each other. These stories reveal who we are and show us the many vivid, wild colors of our truth. Welcome to Soul Wanderings, where we raise spiritual awareness and foster connections through these shared stories and personal experiences. And now, exclusively on KGRA Radio, I give you your host for Soul Wanderings Radio. Here's AJ.
Hello, Wanderers. Welcome back to another week of Soul Wandering. I'm so delighted to be here tonight. We have an amazing guest I cannot wait to share with you. This is a topic that we all have experienced on one level or another, and I really feel like you're going to have some amazing little nuggets of wisdom shared with you tonight. So thank you for being here. I'm happy to have you. I am AJ, your host, and you can find more out about me at soulwanderings.com. I'm up to a lot of really magical, beautiful things in my life, and I love to share them with all of you. And if you have any questions about what I do, if you're going through an experience, if you want to share your personal journey story, you can email me at connect@soulwanderings.com. I really enjoy communicating with my listeners and guests alike. I stay friends with a lot of my guests and my listeners. You guys are the best. I'm completely blessed in what I get to do every week with all of you. Thank you again for being here. Let's not waste any time tonight. Like I said, our guest is going to be amazing. She is amazing. Karen V. Johnson is her name, and she lived a fast-paced life as a federal judge and came to an abrupt halt when she lost her 27-year-old son to a heroin overdose. And rather than grieve in a way that people around her wanted her to and made them comfortable, she did the unexpected. She left her lifetime appointment job, sold her house, all of her belongings, and she went on a 2.5-year journey that took her all over the world and ultimately discovered a healing practice along the way. She is an author, and the book that she wrote we will be discussing in the second hour, probably dabbling into it in the first hour, but it is called Living Grieving, Using Energy Medicine to Alchemize Grief and Loss. Karen, welcome to Soul Wanderings.
Well, thank you. I'm really delighted to be here. Thank you for having me.
I'm really happy to have you. As soon as your agent reached out to me, I was like, yes, please. A lot of people think I'm really weird, maybe a little dark. I just think they're uncomfortable with grief. I have sat with grief many a times. I'm around people who are in grief quite often on a daily basis, I should say. It's something that I'm familiar with. I don't look at it the same way as a lot of people do, but I love to hear the viewpoints and the way that others have navigated their ways through grief. And that is something that you've done on a deep level, so much so that you wrote a book about and changed your entire life and course of direction.
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about yourself in your words.
Yeah. So I probably define myself as a bereaved mother, first and foremost. And that's the title of the book, Living Grieving, because I think that we live with our grief. It's not something we get over it or we can get through it, but we live with it, where it's living with grief. And so I've had many incarnations in this lifetime, I would say. So I started out as kind of a perceptive child that had a fairy that she played with in the backyard with wings and everything, and lived in a tree. And I had what looked like an Indian chief in the basement. And I used to play with the fairy. I was terrified I wouldn't go in the basement of the Indian chief. And then later on, they became spirit guides. But that was a long time ago. And when I was a child, and my mother always said, don't tell anybody, that people will think you're crazy. And so I kind of packed that away. And then I sort of packed my ambitions away, I think, and fell into what parents and society and culture told me was good and safe to do for a woman. I remember when we were asked in school what we want to do, all the little boys said they want to be doctors, and all the little girls said they want to be nurses. Yeah, I said, I want to be an archaeologist. So I was always
different from everyone else.
A little different, just a little different. But I put that away because my mother said it's not safe for women. Okay. And back in those days, I know it's hard to believe, but it was before cell phones and it was before the internet. And so it was a different world. And so when you were far away, you were really far away. And so I became many things. I went and got master's degrees in public health and public and international affairs. I became a Fulbright scholar. I traveled to Afghanistan way before the wars, way before the Taliban. And then I decided I would go to law school. I went to law school, Georgetown Law School, and then I practiced criminal law in the Army and pretty much in Virginia and Washington, D.C. area for the next 30 years, and eventually becoming a federal administrative law judge. I got really tired of criminal work. It's really hard. The stories are really dreadful, and they kind of pile up on you after a while. And so I turned to energy law, oil, gas, and electric, something very scientific, a little bit different. And I was in the worst traffic, the second worst traffic in the country for 30 years in Washington, D.C., before my son died, and really had no idea of how to live any different life, because we kind of get owned by our stuff. I had the house and I had the cars and I had the stuff, and I had bought into that kind of consumeristic lifestyle, and also supporting children, sending them off to college and all the things that we do. My son refused to go to college. Interesting enough, he was a super bright guy and decided he wanted to be an entrepreneur. And so that he took up a lot of years with that, and ultimately didn't work out very well for him. And I think it added to his kind of misery and unhappiness. And then he ended up dying from a heroin overdose. He went to a party with some friends, and they got drunk, and they decided they would try heroin, and he died. They gave him too much. He was a big guy, 6'8", and about 275 pounds, and they just gave him too much, and he died pretty much instantaneously. And so that just changed my world forever, and for the worse and for the better. It's always the blessing and the curse, the joy and the sorrow. And so losing him just completely shattered my world, and I wasn't able to function anymore, really. I tried going back to work, and I did so for a little bit, but I really wasn't able to. But on the other hand, I got to see him. He came to me. I was actually in South Korea on vacation when he passed away. I got the call, can you imagine, and all that far away from a detective. And I knew something was wrong that afternoon. I didn't feel well that afternoon. And so the detective called and hung up. And then I said, oh, this is not good. I just had that terrible feeling about that phone call. And I called back, and it answered it was a detective. And I said, what's wrong? And they said, where are you? And I said, I'm in South Korea. What's happened? And he said, well, it's your son. I said, what's wrong? Was he in an accident? What happened? I'm sorry, but he's dead. And then he died of a heroin overdose. I mean, I was just blown away, and really I couldn't get home for 24 hours because it was nighttime by the time I got the message. There were no planes until the next morning. So, and the flight itself was 14 and a half hours. So I had many hours to contemplate all of it, alone and terrified and mourning and grieving and all those things. But the beauty of it was that when I was sitting in the airport in South Korea, Ben appeared right in front of me, just like he was there in person, his big old grin, and he was looking at me, and then he disappeared. And so I called my ex-husband immediately and I said, I think he's alive. I think you got to call the medical examiner. You got to look in the freezer. I think he's alive. I think he's trying to get out. I just saw him. And so they indulged me in looking, and she said, I'm sorry, but he's not alive. He's gone. And it opened me up, though, to something, a spiritual possibility that I hadn't considered before. If you'd asked me before, I would have said, alive is alive, dead is dead. I don't know if there's anything after. But after seeing Ben, sensing, feeling, knowing him around me, I became very aware of life after death.
Was that the first time you had that experience?
Yes, that's the first time. My parents had passed away. I didn't have that experience. But with Ben, I don't know if it's because it was a death outside the ordinary sequence of life. Mm-hmm. So the parents were quite old. My mother was 95, my father 89, and they had been ill. So we kind of expect it. But when you have an unexpected death and the death of a child, those two alone are the most difficult. And when you have the unexpected death of a child, you're in a very bad place. Very tough place to be.
I could imagine so.
Mm-hmm.
Reading your book and hearing that part where you're in South Korea when this was happening, I literally teared up. I can imagine going through something so tragic and then being so far away.
Yes. It was tough. I'm making all those phone calls. Can you imagine? I had to call my daughter and she's screaming on the phone, and friends and all those things. It was so surreal. The whole thing around death can be so surreal.
Mm-hmm. Especially when there's nothing beforehand in it and it happens we don't all plan on when we're going to die, but some of us are old and some of us are sick. This was just so sudden and so unexpected.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was definitely heart-wrenching. It was just unimaginably hard.
Yeah. Bless your heart for any parent who loses a child.
Yeah.
I can't put myself in those shoes. I haven't had that experience. I've been around people who have, and it just, really are no words when it comes to experiences like that. But when you got back to the U.S., what experiences did you have through Ben's passing?
Yeah. I could feel him around me. In that week, my daughter really handled the funeral, and I had a really dear friend that came and stayed for a week, which was really amazing. And they because I was pretty much in shock. I was pretty much out of it. And that entire week, though, I could feel him around me. I couldn't hear him, though. I wasn't clairaudient, but I could feel him, sense him. I had this knowing of him being frantic. And I was frantic. I was completely out of it and really grieving so hard that week. And then, oh gosh, for the following months, I would be crying so hard I couldn't make it upstairs to my bedroom. I'd be laying on the steps and I would cry until I threw up until I was throwing up blood. I was a mess. I was a disaster. And, yeah, it was really an unbelievable time, but I had that sense of him around me. And so I did what I would never have imagined myself doing ever, is going in the Google. Phone books are old. We don't do phone books anymore, right?
Right. They're long gone.
Google, go to Mr. Google and said, find me a medium in Fairfax County, Virginia. So Fairfax County is probably I think it's the second most educated county in the United States. And in my little world, I never came across many spiritual people because that wasn't part of my wheelhouse. Mm. So I looked it up and there's pages of mediums. I'm like, wow, right around me, all these people living, and I had no idea, right? And so I'm looking at it, and one picture was a little bit larger than the others. And I said, okay, I'll pick her. And that's sort of been a way that Spirit has guided me ever since. Every time I have a question, even finding this house that I'm in now, the picture would be a little bit bigger, and I'd go, oh, okay, that's the one you want me to pick, huh? Okay. So it started there, and I think we all have to find our own way of finding out how spirit communicates to us.
Mm-hmm.
And everybody's a little different. I think sometimes spirit is frantically trying to get us to pay attention and communicating, and we don't have the right frequency. We haven't tuned into that frequency yet.
Well, and just before Ben's passing, those weren't experiences you were having.
No.
I mean, as a little girl before you conditioned them away, but as an adult, these are all new experiences that you're having during such a challenging time too.
Right. I pretty much thought I was losing my mind, right?
As you do when those things happen, right? So you went to the medium.
Mm-hmm.
And how was that experience?
Yeah. So I knew that Ben was right with me in the car. And I went in, and her husband was standing outside, and Ben went by him. And so we went in to a room and said hello and everything. And I said, look, he's standing right there. See that candle flickering right there? He's making it have flicker with his hand. And so he's standing right there, and I can sense him, but I don't know I can't hear what he's saying. He's talking. Can you help me? And so we had this wonderful hour-long session where she was able to relate what he was saying. And the things that he said were just so Ben. Like, he's like, Mom, it is what it is. It was a boneheaded move. I don't know why I decided to do that. But here I am, and, it is what it is. That's just kind of things that he would say, right? And a boneheaded move. Yeah, that was so Ben to say that. So I felt like it was legitimate.
Mm-hmm.
I was pretty skeptical at that point.
Oh, yeah, especially beforehand in the type of life that you have. I don't feel like a lot of people are in touch with their spiritual side.
No.
Just as an observation.
Yeah.
Yeah. So then having these
identified themselves as religious, maybe, but not spiritual. Mm-hmm. Right.
Right. Yeah, I guess I would. Right. Okay. Mm-hmm. But I mean, they're so very different.
It's very different.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So how was that for you, having that experience of not just feeling or thinking you were communicating and seeing Ben, but actually having someone else say yes and confirming and giving you the validation that you needed to know that it was him?
It was wonderful, and it was shocking and surprising, because you can imagine this was not my world. So to actually go there and then have this happen was pretty amazing. And then at the end, she said, most of my clients have no idea that their loved ones are around, let alone where they're standing and all these sorts of things. She said, you might have some skills yourself. Why don't you think about mediumship training? And I thought, wow. Right. Well, how do I do that? And how would I even start? My interest was really talking more with Ben. Mm-hmm. And so she pointed me in the right direction. And then it became a journey of about a year, less than a year, of just intensively exploring everything. Kabbalah, crystals, mediumship, all these sorts of things, and kind of going, wow, this is amazing. And I was just so open to everything and communicating with Ben more and more. I mean, in so many different ways. I even talk in my book about the frankly freaky experience that we have of sensing our loved ones around us. Mm-hmm. And then for me, it expanded. It was not only Ben, but other souls that wanted me to give messages to people or wanted to talk. And I woke up one night, I remember, and there was like lots of spirits in my room. Ben was there too, or I would have probably freaked out totally. But, and I'm like, okay, this is, nope, everybody out of my room but Ben. No, I can't have spirits in my room. And they all left. And I thought, wow, okay, I have some say in this. So then I went down in the morning for coffee, and they were in the house. And I'm like, no spirits in the hallways, no spirits in my house. Everybody out.
Right. You're like, this isn't happening.
This is not happening. I don't have any skills to deal with it. Now, after my journey after a couple years journey in my spiritual path as becoming a shaman, now I know how to handle them, and I handle them all the time. But at that time, all I was like, everybody out, everybody got to go.
It's neat that you did that, though, because with my experience and other people I've heard, they don't know they can communicate that way just by speaking, not or thinking, right? Because we can communicate in other ways that you can say, I want to communicate with you, just right now is not a good time. Come back at this time, or you guys are really loud in my ear. If you can just bring it down a few notches.
Right.
They want to communicate with you.
Yes.
You have to help them show your way of communicating.
Right.
But you just did it all naturally, just right away. Like, hey guys, can't hang out here.
I think I might have handled it a little differently had I known, but I was just like, everybody got to go. That was my first response. Everybody out,
Yeah.
out, and then I was surprised that they went, but that was a beautiful journey too. And it opened me up to the spirit world and more spirits.
Yeah.
And so it's been
not coming from that kind of background. And then all of a sudden you have not just Ben hanging out with you, but several other beings. What was that like for you? You said you felt like you're going a little crazy, but that's a lot to happen all at once.
Right. Yeah. It was a lot to happen. And I had this sense that I didn't want to go to a traditional doctor or therapist because I knew enough that they would think I had really lost the plot.
Yeah.
And we wanted to
let's admit this one.
let's do something for her. She's really gone off the deep edge here, And so I just didn't want that. I didn't want to lose my connection and with Ben. And so I don't know what I did. I guess I just sort of said, okay, they're not right here right now. And I'm doing this other work with mediums and things. And I was talking to my medium friend about this. And she said, well, that's one way of handling it. At least you've got your space, because you can't be invaded by disincarnate spirits 24/7. That would drive you nuts. I mean, we all have to have our downtime and our personal space. So I learned how to navigate that. Get that word out. Navigate that world.
Yeah, and it is just that, right? It's just learning and figuring out your balance in between those worlds.
Yeah, for sure. So we always say shamans, actually, if you think about the equation, E equals MC squared. So energy and matter. So shamans dance in the middle in the equal sign. So we're always between energy and matter in these different realms. And so once I learned how to negotiate that, I was in much better shape. But at the time, can you imagine? Here I am in Washington, D.C. doing this really incredible multi-billion-dollar type of litigation. And if someone had picked up that I was pursuing shamanic studies, it wouldn't have been pretty. It would have been not a great Washington Post article.
I don't laugh because it's funny. I laughed because I was all nervous for you.
Yeah. Can you imagine?
No, that would not be good for your career.
No. So I knew that I had to make choices. And then I came across an evolutionary astrologer who is he's been doing this work for, I think, 40 years and teaches it and does everything. So one of the mediums had introduced me to him, and he told me that my soul had moved from Uranus, shame, blame, and guilt, to Neptune, the mystical path. And at that point, I'm like, what is a mystical path? It's one of these things like somebody's telling you about your life and you don't know all the words, and it's going on for an hour and a half, and you think, oh, please make it stop. Please make it stop.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
I have no idea what you're talking about. So I did what, any dyed-in-the-wool lawyer would do when he said, a woman who had a reading like yours became a shaman. And I'm like, a shaman? I didn't even know there were any shamans in this day and age. I thought they were died out centuries ago, right? So I got on Mr. Google again, shaman, and the Four Winds popped up. And so that's Alberto Villoldo and the Four Winds Society. Yeah. And 3 weeks later, I'm on a plane to Joshua Tree, California for my first shaman course, the south direction of the medicine wheel, because in the Indian mythology, we start in the south because theirs is based on the Southern Cross. So it's a different cosmology than here in North America when they often start in the east. So south direction, I'm on a plane and I'm thinking to myself, well, I'm not going to fit in here. There's not going to be anybody like me. This is not going to, everybody's going to be all spiritual and gooey, and I don't know anything. And so if it doesn't work out, I'll just hop down to Palm Springs and go to the spa, get a facial, call it a week, right? And so long story short, wow, I drank the Kool-Aid.
Long story short, I'm glad you drank the Kool-Aid because you have so much to share with everyone because you did. And we're going to hear more about your journey, your healing journey, if you will, when we get back from the break. Everyone stay close. We're just getting started.
Hey members, the new KGRA-DB app is now available on iOS and Android devices. Gain on-demand access to any KGRA-DB programming. Download any show directly to your mobile device to listen or watch on the go. Go to the App Store and search KGRA-DB.
I don't want to talk about it.
I don't want to talk about it.
Families don't have to talk about everything, but they should talk about how to plan for an emergency. Get tips and resources to make your family's emergency plan.
Welcome to the new KGRA digital broadcasting website, thekgradb.com. Here you'll find great new content, including the KGRA Classics, great shows from our archives. You'll be able to see the show times and information so you can see what show is currently on air. The on-air live button. So just go to this section and you'll be able to hear the show live with exceptional sound quality. We also have the Vault section. Make sure to subscribe to get access to great content and special features. We have the make content for our latest news and events, so make sure to sign up and you can be part of our forum. So make sure to check out the new KGRA digital broadcasting website, thekgradb.com. We look forward to seeing you there, and we hope that you enjoy the new website.
Hello, Wanderers. Welcome back. You are listening to Soul Wanderings. We are played on KGRADB.com. My show, there's a ton of other shows that you'd enjoy as well. I just know it. And the schedule is always going with new and live and wonderful guests. So make sure you guys check it out, KGRADB.com. Also, during the live show, if you want to hang out in the chat room, you can do that by going to KGRA Digital Broadcasting's Facebook and YouTube pages. Hi, Karen. Welcome back.
Hi.
We were just getting started on your journey. You had such a huge experience with, I don't even like to say losing Ben, because he's not lost.
Yeah.
But with him transitioning to going on your own spiritual or healing journey, if you will. Such a big transition from the life that you were living to the life you were stepping into.
Mm-hmm.
Were you scared? Or were you like, I know this is what my path is meant to be, and went for it?
I think by the time I had gone to see the evolutionary astrologer and then done the south direction of the medicine wheel, and then a few months after that, I did the west direction. So I was halfway through my training. And then about 6 months, I finished it up with the north and the east. So I had done all directions. And at that point, I just knew. I knew that I was part of something that was bigger than me, bigger than I could even understand. And I decided to take it a step. So lots of people say, well, how did you know what to do, or how did it happen? So when we take a big step, like I had been hesitating about checking into retirement, and I thought, okay, I'm going to personnel. I'm going to take this step and have the numbers run and get this going. It was like there was a gale force wind at my back. Everything just kind of fit into place. I found out I could retire. I ended up putting my house on the market. It was a down kind of market, but my house sold full price within 3 days. And I had 5 weeks to get out of a house I'd been in for 25 years, filled with stuff, filled with memories and memorabilia, my parents, everybody. And so, but the right people always came along at the right time with information like, oh, call this company. They'll put everything that you have on Facebook Marketplace type of thing, where you don't have to have it, people coming to your house and things like that, and they sell it for you and take care of it. And it was just all done. It was like, it was just all there. And I had put Alberto Villoldo had said, well, he wanted to work with me. He wanted to help train me after I'd done all the training. And, but I hadn't heard from him. And so I had written him a message about 3 weeks before the house closing saying, well, everything's happening faster than you can imagine. I'm going to be out of here by September 4th or something like that. But I hadn't heard back from him. So I had a sand painting, a mandala. So we work a lot with mandalas. So we put energy, I put me and my little dog, and where are we going to go? Because I had no idea exactly where we were going to go. All I knew is that we were not going to be there anymore. And so it's like an energetic circle, and it's worked on by the moon and the stars and the wind and the sun. So shamans are very animistic and calling in these forces to help answer questions. Mm-hmm. And so the day of the closing, I closed out the sand painting, returned everything to nature, put everything back. 15 minutes later, Alberto Villoldo calls and says, can you come to Chile for a month? So,
you can't make this stuff up.
You can't make this stuff up. You just can't make it up. So I think it's that trusting too. It's just like, okay, I haven't heard from him. I could have, said, okay, maybe I won't sell the house. What'll I do? I'll take back the company. But I just said, I'm going to just let everything go and trust that it's all going to work out. And then I'll have a place to go. And so that was sort of the beginning of the big 2.5 year long journey all over the world to find answers about grief and grieving and life, and how do we live with grief? How do we survive this big thing that just sits in our hearts like a big elephant?
Mm-hmm.
What do we do?
And the thing about grief is it's not like a constant every day, all of the time. It comes and goes in waves, and it transforms and shifts.
And knocks you over a few times. And
yeah. And so how do you learn to navigate something that's so unpredictable, right?
Yeah. Well, that was sort of my questions. How do I do it? I didn't even begin to know how to deal with this heaviness that was in my heart and how to go on living. I mean, I had this knowledge that I was going to start with the Four Winds and I was going to go to Chile. But beyond that, I really didn't have a plan. And I thought, well, I didn't plan to write a book. I thought maybe I'll write a travel blog. Maybe I'll talk about, my little dog. So my little dog Murphy, and how to make sure that he and I both had a roof over our heads, and that he had a puppy sitter when I was in countries where it's very difficult to have long quarantines and things where you can't really easily take a dog. And so all those things, I thought, okay, I'll write about that. But then it turned into a really deep spiritual journey. And so much more than travel. Yeah.
I love that because it wasn't what you expected and it wasn't quite what you were looking for. It found you.
It found me. Yeah, it found me, and it just became its own journey. It turned into something big, and the entire book was really downloaded to me. So I talk about the journey of the bereaved. That came to me one day in meditation. And also I learned to meditate. Oh my gosh. That, I was one of
I
those.
was wanting to ask you about that experience you talked about in your book. I was the 3 hours of sitting still. I
Yeah.
would be in so much pain and having a hard time concentrating, especially with not knowing what was going on around you and just trusting that you were right where you were meant to be.
Right. Right. Well,
What
I
was
talk
that
about
experience like?
Yeah, well, I that was my first experience. So my first experience with meditating, I didn't go, I tried to do it for a few minutes. I couldn't even do a few minutes, but I don't know why. I thought it'd be a great idea to go to a Buddhist temple and sit in a class and meditate for an entire day. And by the halfway through, there was a walking meditation, and I walked out and picked up my shoes and walked out the door. I was so done. I couldn't meditate. And so coming to terms with that busy mind that most of us have, it's very tough to sit and meditate, but it's been a practice too of learning and sitting and learning how to let go and how to be and be still and let go of the mind and allow things to come in, and things like downloads, like as above, so below, that Gnostic principle. And then, oh my gosh, they go through transition, resurrection, and rebirth. And then, oh my gosh, the people left behind, the bereaved, we go through that same process. So we're on a journey. It lit up my head. It's because our culture is so, let's get it done now, let's get over it, soundbite, next thing, right? That we're often push that on people who are grieving too. Time to get over it, time to move on.
Right. I noticed that in your book when you were sharing how your boss was wanting you to get back after a day, 2 days?
I was good. At first it was, you can have 2 hours off for his funeral. Wow. And then someone interceded and said, I think she could have some admin time, right? So it was 3 days. I ended up going back to work after a week. It was a lot of pressure. Oh, you have things due, you have hearings, you have all this stuff. And so I kind of, and I'm thinking to myself, well, maybe it's better I go back and be busy than sit by myself in the house. Maybe that will be okay. And then finding out I really can't work. I'm sitting in meetings trying not to cry. I'm trying to sit there all day. It's not working. I'm fleeing out of there. It's just not, I don't know. It's just, I don't know how anybody can go back to work in a week after something like that. I mean, I don't think you can. It's just not possible.
No. And that's how we are in our culture.
Yeah.
We really don't allow ourselves to have very many human emotions. And if we do, we are judged by them. We're critiqued by them. We are told how it should be, how we should feel, what it should look like.
Yes.
It's so different than in other countries and cultures.
Yeah, for sure. That expectation, that Calvinist philosophy, you got to get back to things and work hard. It's like, well, you have things due. You have to meet your deadlines. I just bought into it again. Okay, if you say so, right? Yeah. So it was a process of integrating everything new and letting go of the old. Yeah. It's sort of like the breath, right? The breath is a metaphor for how we can live our lives, bringing in the fresh and releasing the old and the stale. And so that was my process. I was in this big process of turning over, of change.
Yeah, definitely a big process. What drew you to shamanism and the medicine wheel? What was your pull towards that direction?
I think it was really, I hadn't heard of it before I went to the evolutionary astrologer and he mentioned shamans. And then when I Googled it, I went in, there's academic advisors at the Four Winds. So I called the Four Winds and I talked with a really wonderful person for about an hour and a half. And then I decided, okay, this talks about a way to move old stale stories, move grief, integrate your life, change your karma, change these things. And it all sounded like many things I didn't really actually know how to do, but that maybe I should learn.
Yeah. I had no idea I would be on this path that I'm on right now. You look into your future and it's not like, oh, I'm going to be helping people through their healing journey, or I'm going to own a spiritual healing center. Not on my agenda whatsoever. I believe that people go through some pretty heavy things that lead them in this direction. And obviously that was the case for you. When you were younger, having those experiences, having them conditioned away, obviously when you wanted to be something completely different, and you ended up having a completely different life. But was there ever a point in your past that before you became into the place of your career that you thought that this could be something in your future? Or is this all because of the experience you had through Ben?
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, I think that in my 40s, there were times when I thought I don't even remember my 40s. I just felt so pressured by raising children and the sandwich generation. So I had my parents that were ill and the children. So I felt like I was just lost. And I do remember for a while listening to tapes by Pema Chodron, the Buddhist nun. So I would have that playing on one of her books.
That's what I'm looking for. Those little things, like we don't understand that we're having these little seeds planted throughout our lives until we have the hindsight of, oh, there was this one time.
Yeah. So I would have her playing, and Eckhart Tolle, A New Earth. So those were just sort of playing. So I was getting some relief and release and some information that was given to me. And I was thinking this is just helping me with my commute, so it's not so long and hard. But really it was giving me insight and awareness of other ways of being, other ways of thinking. Yeah. So when the time came, I did have that little backup.
Yeah. Oh, that just makes me giddy. I love little messages, and then you like piece them together.
Yeah.
Like puzzle pieces, like, oh, and then you start seeing a bigger picture.
Yeah.
It's so neat how it happens. It's unfortunate how it happens in a lot of ways, but like you said before, it's like a blessing in disguise. It's like a double-edged sword. And getting there is quite the process, but once you've arrived, you can see the beauty in it all. Are you in that place now where you can look back and see that?
Oh yeah. Sometimes death is the doorway. It takes us into a spiritual path. And so I'm looking at Hay House is so wonderful. And so they give us a Christmas gift every year. And so this was a deck of cards by Louise Hayes. And so I don't know if you can see this, but it says, whoops.
There you go.
I am deeply fulfilled by all that I do. Wow. This one, I just opened the deck and I had never, I unwrapped it, but I had never used it. And this card just fell out of the box. And I thought, oh my gosh, here I am. I am that. I am not just fulfilled by all that I do. I am deeply fulfilled by all that I do. Oh, after 30 years of just, trying to grab the brass ring and struggle and tension and fighting and, all these things. And here I am. I'm in the spiritual path. I've got clients that I just love, help take through their grieving process. I've written a book, never thought I would be able to write a book. I mean, I left a 30-year law career and thinking, someone said to me, but I had this big dream. How did this happen? I had this big dream and I was thinking, I would love to write a book and I would love to be teaching and writing and talking about it, on shows and different things like that. And it's a kind of dream I tell people to have, that It's so big, you don't know how to make it happen. And if you tell people, they would say, how are you going to do that? You don't know anything. What are you going to write about? You just left your career. You don't know anything about spiritualism. You'll never get a publisher. You'll never get an editor. How are you going to do that? People can't, all they can't do. But I had my secret dream.
Mm-hmm.
And it,
listen to everyone else.
Yeah. So sometimes we just have to have our secret dream that we don't tell anybody.
Mm-hmm.
They would just poo-poo it and tell us all the reasons why we can't. But meanwhile, we're breaking free of our past lives and quantum leaping into the future and pulling that future dream into our hearts and making them happen. And so here I went to Hay House every couple times a year, has this great conference, and anybody who goes to their conference and learns how to write a proposal can submit a proposal for a book. And they have winners. They have a grand prize winner. Here I am, the grand prize winner for Hay House. Is that hilarious? I mean, it's just too much. Sometimes it's like, I don't even know how to thank the universe. It's just beyond.
Well, you're showing up.
Yeah.
Right. And you have to listen to those inner voices and messages that are guiding you to where you're meant to be. And you've done just that.
Yeah.
And it's amazing. I'm grateful for the book you wrote. And like I said before the show, I've had the opportunity to go through it. I put myself in your shoes. First of all, you did an awesome job on Audible reading your book.
Oh, thank you. I had a few little moments of cry, a few tears.
That's where I was headed. You read your own book and had to relive your story. Can you share that experience with us?
Yeah, I had the greatest, and I'm going to not be able to remember their name, but they're in Utica, New York. Fantastic people that really helped me through the whole process. I'd never recorded a book before. It was my first time. And here I am in this deeply personal stuff that every once in a while I would just start crying, and they would stop and we would just have to take a minute. And then I thought, oh boy, I don't know what Hay House is going to think about this, because clearly I'm a little emotional through it and things like that. So I don't know what it was supposed to sound like, but it worked out. But it was deeply personal and deeply difficult, more difficult than I could have thought. I think it took 4 days of recording. That was a lot.
It's a lot to reprocess. It's a lot to go through again that many days. Well, I was saying I was trying to put myself in your shoes and just imagining what that process was like for you. I'm really big into feeling my feels. And because I am an empath, I feel other people's feels. And I feel like if someone was listening to your book, they may not get that. But there were moments in your book, even if you weren't talking about something that was really sad, you could feel that your heart was re-breaking in a way, like breaking open even more. Was it a cathartic experience for you at the end of all of it, going through that?
It was. It was a way of deeply revisiting all of it, all the journey, all that happened. I mean, one of the things I think that was so poignant for me is, and I write about it in the book. So this was been past November 2nd, and this was right around after Christmas, right around New Year's. And so I had decided, my daughter had gone off to Guatemala. She was doing an engineering program. And she had left, and my furnace wasn't working very well. And so I had the furnace man come in, and he said, oh, this is dangerous. It's leaking CO2. You need to get this fixed or get out of this house. And I thought, really? Wow. This is my chance. I'm never going to get it fixed. And if I die from CO2, my daughter won't feel that I killed myself and that she wasn't worth living for. I'll just go very quietly. And then one night, I think it was New Year's Eve, and I thought I had this idea that I was going to die that night. And I was like, this is great. Okay, I'm ready. Let's go. Take me. I'm yours. I woke up in the morning, and I remember being really, really angry, like bait and switch. Here I am. I'm still alive. And I had this idea that I had to make bundles for the homeless people that lived near my office. So I'm running around the house frantically. I get all Ben's bedding and sheets and things like that, and all my extra bedding and sheets. And I'm making 16 bundles. It had to be 16. 16 was in my head. And his clothes and socks and underwear and money and food. And I make these 16 bundles like a wild woman, and I stuff them all in my car. My car was completely packed from trunk to front. And I'm thinking, if I get, the police are probably going to stop me. And this is crazy person with their car stuffed so full she can't see, driving down the road to Washington, D.C. to this homeless thing. And then I'm thinking, well, what if there's 17 people? What if there's 18? What if there's 20? What am I going to do? I've got 16. Don't you know that it was exactly there were 16 tents.
Of course there were.
Yeah, of course there were. So I felt like I was led every little step of the way. Even then, finally, I got I said, well, I guess I'm not going to die, so I might as well get the furnace fixed. Right.
Before she comes home.
Before she comes home. Right. So
that was one of the parts in the book that really stung my heart. Yeah. That was a hard thing, but I can understand it in my own way, not wanting to be here anymore, but not wanting to hurt those around you by choosing to exit this experience.
Yeah. It's just so painful and I didn't have any way to negotiate my way through it. I mean, it was just pain and misery but the negotiating and the navigating, I guess is a better way, navigating my way through it came later. And I do believe I was led the whole way to right here, right now, to this place right here with you.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah. I love that. And I'm really happy that you are here sharing your experience with us.
Thank you. Me too.
We're going to talk more about your book in the second hour, and we're just about to break. So before we do, why don't you tell us why you decided to write you thought about all types of books, but why did you end up writing a book about your journey?
Because I felt like I had learned so much about grieving and dying, and I wanted to share it with people because I know there's so many people that are hurting and suffering loss of all kinds, businesses, families, relationships, all sorts of things. And I felt like I had been given this journey and this beautiful insight, and I wanted to share it with people so that they wouldn't be stuck. There's nothing worse than being stuck in your grief. I know how it is because I was stuck.
Yeah. And I know several people who are stuck. It breaks my heart because we all look at death differently. The way that I got through a lot of my grief is learning a new way of looking at it. Yeah. And you do share ways that you can do that in the book that may resonate with other people. And I hope that they do, because it's so beneficial to have those tools to assist you in navigating your way through the grief.
Yeah.
And you do that in the book. You give us ways that we can do that, which I thought was a really nice addition.
Yeah. Yeah. So in ways that honor our loved ones. So I always tell people this isn't about leaving your loved one behind, forgetting them or anything. It's creating a new life out of the ashes of the old that honors our loved ones.
Yeah. Beautiful. Yes. So good. So the book that we're going to be discussing in the second hour is Karen's first book published by Hay House. It's called Living Grieving, Using Energy Medicine to Alchemize Grief and Loss. I recommend this book to all of you listening who are navigating your way through grief. Everyone is grieving on some level or another. This isn't just the loss of a human being in your life. It can be grief in any way. There are tools in this book that will assist you through your journey, and also the connection with Karen through her sharing her personal story. Stay close, everyone. When we get back, we'll dive deeper into Karen's book and learn more about this process.
Hey members, the new KGRA-DB app is now available on iOS and Android devices. Gain on-demand access to any KGRA-DB programming. Download any show. directly to your mobile device to listen or watch on the go. Go to the App Store and search KGRA-DB.
I don't want to talk about it.
I don't want to talk about it.
Families don't have to talk about everything, but they should talk about how to plan for an emergency. Get tips and resources to make your family's emergency plan.
Welcome to the new KGRA digital broadcasting website, thekgradb.com. Here you'll find great new content, including the KGRA Classics, great shows from our archives. You'll be able to see the show times and information so you can see what show is currently on air. The On Air Live button. So just go to this section and you'll be able to hear the show live with exceptional sound quality. We also have the Vault section. Make sure to subscribe to get access to great content and special features. We have the make content for our latest news and events, so make sure to sign up and you can be part of our forum. So make sure to check out the new KGRA digital broadcasting website, thekgradb.com. We look forward to seeing you there, and we hope that you enjoy the new website.
We're hanging out here on KGRADB.com. We're also on KGRA Digital Broadcasting Facebook and YouTube pages. Tonight we are visiting with Karen Johnson, and she is the author of Living Grieving, Using Energy Medicine to Alchemize Grief and Loss. Quite an experiences you've had in life, Karen, from going one way of living to a completely other way of living, which takes so much courage. I'm proud of you for showing up for yourself the way that you have.
Thank you.
I think it's beautiful. I admire and respect that, especially after having such a big loss. And not just of Ben, your son, but your whole world as you knew it.
Yeah.
You changed everything. And I just think it takes courage and a big trust, right? Have that trust fall. So we're going to talk about your book, The Second Hour, which I'm really excited about. We've already shared quite a bit about your journey story, but the book is your journey story in combination of navigating your way through grief.
Yeah.
I love that you shared lots of pieces about your life so we could connect with you on that level. But also, if anyone is going through their own grief right now and just not sure how to navigate their way out of it, this book has a lot of really great shares to assist you in that way. What made you want to also add all the directions and the practices that you did? What was, I understand your practices, but what was your call to share that with I'm going to say average person for lack of better word, but I'm sure you understand what I mean.
Yeah. So I think people, even though they may not resonate with shamanism, they understand journeys and they understand circles. You know, there's so many circles. And so the medicine wheel is a circle or a spiral. You could think of it as a spiral. And so the idea that you're going to go on a journey around a circle, around a spiral, I think people think, oh yeah, I can relate to that. That's interesting. That's a concept that I can kind of get around. It's not just, one thing. You go from one thing to another thing to another thing. So that's the thing with a journey. You're not stuck in one place. And so we want to get unstuck. We want to help people to be able to lift a little bit out of where they are. And so a lot of books will talk about the deal with grief, things that you need to do in the physical realm. So in this world, well, you need to go out, you need to go to a movie, you need to do this, and sort of steps that you need to do. And then, but there's people that say, but I can't. And that was me. I felt like people would say, let's go out to dinner, let's go to a movie. And finally I said to people, look, think of me as a zombie. Half of my heart is gone. Zombies don't go to lunch, they don't go to dinner, and they don't go to movies. I just felt like I couldn't physically do those things. And so I found out by using these practices and going around the medicine wheel why I was stuck and where I was stuck. And we're all stuck somewhere different. Mm-hmm. And so if we can do as a precursor, before we launch ourselves out into the world and launch ourselves into society, figure out where we're stuck and where our heart is heavy and where maybe we need to release something a little bit to God, to spirit, to the universe, to the great consciousness, whatever your beliefs are. And shamans do that with fire. We say fire is the path to rapid transformation. But we all kind of can connect with that idea because when we go to a temple or to a cathedral and there's candles to light, we kind of instinctually go there and light a candle. It's like we kind of know that smoke and fire is a part of releasing and letting go. And especially when you do it in a sacred context, in a sacred place like a cathedral or a temple, you feel like your prayers are being heard. And so that's what my book is about, is to take you out of your ordinary reptilian brain, if you will, the reptilian brain of today, fight, flight, all these things we do in our world, and ratchet it up to our neocortex. Our neocortex is the brain of ceremony. That's where we engage with ceremony. And that's where we can release things like a feather blowing in the wind, instead of at the physical level where everything seems hard and difficult, right? So I want to take people to that moment of being in ceremony, of sitting with a candle and a pie plate and a pen and pencil and writing down things like non-judgment. Who are you judging? Who's judging you? I judged a lot of people that I felt weren't there for Ben, that should have been there. And I even judged myself. And I even judged Ben, right? And so releasing it, writing it down, and then with radical honesty, because sometimes we're not radically honest if we think somebody might find our notebook, find what we wrote down. So we're going to take everything we wrote to the fire and burn it with the intention of releasing it to spirit and allowing peace to come into our hearts. So each practice has something to release, something to bring in. So we're always keeping that. Aristotle said the universe abhors a vacuum. And so we always want to release, but we don't want to open and bring in. So we're it's that process of breathing, like the breath.
Yes, and it is too. You release and then you bring in new, and release and bring in new. Mm-hmm. We underestimate the power of our breath.
Yes, we totally underestimate the power of our breath and the power of our intention. When we have set the intention to release to God, to the universe, it happens. Mm-hmm. It happens in that ceremonial way in our neocortex, lightly. So we can become unstuck in 30 minutes, what might take you 3 years in this physical.
It really can be that easy?
It can be that easy. It can be that easy.
We don't have to suffer.
We don't have to suffer. We suffer a lot of times by the stories that we ruminate on. So if you're writing down the stories, I should have done this, I should have done that. How many people know? I should have made my husband go to the doctor. I should have made my wife do this. I should have made my child. I had all those shoulds too. I should have done this. I should have done that differently. Maybe I should have sent him to a different school. Maybe a babysitter. That was probably that babysitter wasn't equipped, right? So you go round and round in your mind. And if you write these things down, if you really sit in quiet and give yourself a really time to contemplate and write down all these things that are rushing around in your mind that you're ruminating on, and then release them. It's very cathartic. First of all, instead of ignoring it and saying, I'm not looking at that, I don't want to think about it, which we do a lot, we're saying, okay, I'm going to think about it. Okay, mind, let's get it all out. Let's write it all down. And then let's take it to God. Let's take it to Spirit to release. Help me to release this and open my heart to new things. And so, yeah, so we don't have to suffer. We don't have to be stuck. We don't have to create a shrine to our loved ones. I mean, it was really hard for me. The hardest thing was my house getting rid of was Ben's room that I had left exactly the way it was. My daughter actually came and helped me with that, but very cathartic because he's not there. And our loved ones don't want to see us grieving in that way. It keeps them from moving on the other side and do their work there, their best work there when they're watching us suffer. And people say, well, if they're on the other side and they're in heaven or wherever you think they go, how can they be here? Well, and I say, well, it's not prison over there. They're allowed to come back and forth. And they visit and they come and see us. And as above, so below. And so as we're stuck, so that we're keeping them stuck. They can't do their best work on the other side. And our culture tells us, oh gosh, if you don't grieve long enough, she didn't really seem to care. And then if you grieve too long, in their opinion, she's really not doing well. She really needs to get professional help. So there's no win. So you might as well grieve the way you want to grieve, because you're not going to get accolades no matter what you do. So you might as well let your grief be the way it's going to be and allow yourself the possibility of changing your life and using this great energy of grief to change your life. So we know that other events in life, like marriage and parenthood, we know that they are transformational. They have great transformational energy for people. Grief, we've kind of put off to the side. We don't want to look at that, but grief also has incredible transformational energy that we can tap into. And once we tap into that energy and we work with the idea that it is a journey and it is a process, and that in doing so, we're honoring our loved ones and we're freeing them just as we're freeing ourselves, it gives us incentive. And that's what I learned the most is as I freed myself, Ben was also freed.
Ah, that's so beautiful.
Yeah.
That's so beautiful. I love that way of looking at that experience specifically. As a side note, I do have to give props to your daughter. She sounds amazing.
She is amazing.
For her to come in and take care of Ben's room and send you shopping so you didn't have to have that experience. What an angel.
She's amazing. And so
the way that she's shown up for you, I just shout out to your daughter.
Shout out. Oh, she's amazing. Katie Johnson. Just love that girl. So my friends came to her before I retired and everything and said, your mother's grieving. This is crazy. This is a lifetime appointment. She's going to regret this. Can't you stop her? And she looked at them and said, I think my mother should shake her rattle and release her inner butterfly.
I was just about to say it. That's my favorite thing she said.
Isn't that great? And I don't even know, she's an engineer. She's like totally left brain, but she just like, you go, Mom. And it's been amazing. Yeah.
And the part you shared in the book, this is a little off track, but still part of the experience. So I'm totally happy we're sharing this. The part in the book where, now see, I just lost my thought. There was a part where she showed up for you a certain way. And I was just like, I want that. When I go through this experience, I want that. Just the way that she showed up for you and the way that she supported you through your journey. It was just so beautiful.
Yeah, she's amazing. I mean, I even had like a few boxes in her basement for a while, and she got my mail while I'm traveling the world. And, so it's just like she's just had my back and always has my back through all of it. So we have each other's back. That's the thing with Ben and Katie and I. I was so close to Ben too in that same way. And so loss was like losing, like I said, half my heart.
Yeah.
Right. And Katie's the other half. And so we're just very super close.
There are many times, people wonder what if all of the time. What if so and so died? How would you act? How would you react? I only have one son and we are extremely close.
Yeah.
He's about to have his first child,
Cool.
just like you wrote in the book how you became a grandma.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm so excited.
Yeah.
But I think about how blessed I am to have him in my life, and I just couldn't even imagine not having him in it. And when he joined the army, I thought I grieved. I grieved, not like he had passed, but it had felt like that because we have been inseparable until he was at that stage in his life where I was able to set him free. Was the hardest thing I've ever done. And I'm not comparing it to your loss by any means, but there was a grieving process I went through with my son. And so I always had to put myself in this space. Like, I am very blessed because he's still here and I'm grieving him and he's still here. There are other people who aren't as fortunate as I am. And I've really had to work on that because to me, it felt like I lost him.
Yeah.
It felt like, because he's in Germany. And you never know what tomorrow holds, right? I never know when I'll see him again. And as a human, you just go there and you think of those things. And the biggest thing for me, and the reason why I share it, and because if people are listening, grief is grief no matter what it looks like.
Yeah.
But it's what stories we choose to tell ourselves and how we choose to move through the grief. Just like you've been sharing, that's such a big thing. I know people who are so stuck in their grief, even after several years, they just cannot get out of it. And they have the same stories. They tell the same stories and life is just not the same. And there'll be times where they try to step out of it and try other things, but they go right back into it. And I just often wonder if it always is what we're telling ourselves. What do you think? Do you think that there's always a way to navigate yourself out of that deep grief that you were referring to? Or are there some people who that is part of their journey? They're just there to be in grief the rest of the time that after their loss.
I think there's always a way out, and it takes some doing. So if you think about the brain, we have neural networks, right?
Mm-hmm.
And when we're in grief and we believe, and our culture has told us grief is heavy, grief is hard, grief is this, we're very attached to our person isn't here, and we're suffering so greatly. We're digging those neural networks deeper and deeper and deeper over and over and over again. So you can imagine after years, very harder to move that energy. But the way to do it is to do small things. Like I always tell people to put practice beauty on their refrigerator. Write that down and do one thing every day that you love. Because when we lose someone, or we lose a business, or we lose a relationship, or we are caretakers, right? And we're anticipating losing somebody, we often forget about ourselves. We forget about joy. We forget about beauty. We forget about looking at a sunset. And so as we recapture some of that, and some of it is, well, what did you used to like to do? Well, I used to like to do this. Okay, let's do that. Like one thing, just a small thing, even if it's a cookie that you like to eat, or one thing every day.
What's your experience with survivor's guilt?
Yeah. So I think most survivors that I've come across have some measure of guilt, because we always think that, we think we're the center of the universe and it's our fault. And we did it. If we had done this or do that, and we forget that this is a totally independent person. And we have to ask ourselves, is that true? Is it true that we really had control? Is it true that we could have? So I said, if I hadn't gone to Korea, if I hadn't gone in vacation, this wouldn't have happened. Really? Is that really true? Or was he on a roll and was going to do it no matter what? But I wouldn't have let him go to that party. Really? How would I not have let him go to that party? Right. So So sometimes we talk ourselves into an extreme amount of guilt that is really not true. And if you sit down and really analyze it, is it true that you are at fault? Is it really true? Really, really, really. And mostly it's not, right? Even if it's, someone that caused an accident, or was that accident going to happen anyway? Or there are a lot of different variables besides you. We all think it's us. We had control, but we really didn't.
What about for those who aren't necessarily taking the blame that our loved one passed, but feeling guilty that we're the ones that lived and they're the ones that left?
For sure, especially with children. I would do anything to change places with Ben, but that's not what happened, right? And so we can talk about what we wish had happened, or we can learn to begin to accept what really did happen, what life had in store for him and for me. And I happen to think that Ben, I think he lived fully his life in those 27 years, and he was ready to go. And he's very happy in the other side. He's not at all unhappy. So what if that was enough for him? What if he had some physical issues? He had some trouble with businesses. He had all these things, lots of friends. He was a great guy. Many things. What if that was enough? And what if we're the ones that have regrets based on what we wish? Do I wish that I had the grandchildren, or wish I could hug him, or wish all those kind of things? But it's really centered on me, not on him. He's perfectly happy where he is.
Yeah. I love that you know that. I can't imagine the amount of relief and love you feel to know that to be true.
Yeah.
And I want that for everyone else who's going through their process too. I understand we get to go through our experiences because of whatever reason we're meant to go through them. But at some point, I want everyone to feel that, everyone to know that to be true, that wherever they are through this thin veil between us and them, that they are happier, and they are still doing the work, and they're still with us.
Yeah. Yeah. People sign in on my website. They get free. They get this 8 things spirits on the other side wish you knew.
Oh, awesome. Make sure Chanel, my amazing producer, is popping up all of your information on the screen, but share your website for those who aren't watching on video.
KarenJohnson.net.
Okay.
And these are all downloaded to me from Ben.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah. So things like they love you in new and expansive ways, and they're still around, and they help us out, and they give us messages, and they wish you knew how happy they were on the other side. And they have lots of interesting things to do, like learn from ascended masters. And your sadness and despair keeps them from fully engaging on the other side. They want you to create a new and meaningful life so you both can continue to learn and grow. And they will be there when you transition and are excited to share with you all they have learned.
I love those messages.
Right? And so every time I read that, I think, oh my gosh. And I remember the last time I was really sad it was his birthday. And so even though I've done all the practices, doesn't mean we don't have pain. We still have pain and we feel sad. And I wished he was here. And so I was like, oh, Ben, I need you come talk to me at your birthday, blah, blah, blah. And he came, he's like, Mom, it's only a 27-year-old man can do. Mom, quit dinging my doorbell. He said, I'm in the Jesus pod and I'm learning. This is so cool. Jesus is real and I'm in the Jesus pod. And so you're fine. You don't need right now.
Oh my gosh.
And so,
Jared does have a sense of humor.
Right.
Yes.
It's so much fun. He's having a grand time. So this idea that they're in eternal slumber and somehow they're off doing and being.
Yeah. They're off living their best life.
Yeah. Their best afterlife.
Yeah. Their best middle life.
Right. Right.
They're in the pause, learning things.
Yeah. And so it's just little things like that make me feel happy, And so that's what if I can change people's perspective just a little, then they can get out of that, really the grip of death and grief, and look at it slightly different way. We've been enculturated to look at it this certain way, that it's dark and heavy and they're gone and it's loss and it's despair and hopelessness. And what if we shifted that a little? What if we just shifted it up a little and said, oh my God, they're in this great adventure. I can't wait to see them. We see that now. And we see people are beginning to talk about, instead of funerals, celebration of life. So we're kind of, I think, getting it a little, right? And so that's kind of, going to be the next book. The next book is how we bring joy to all these after grief rituals.
Ooh, I cannot wait for that.
How can we switch it up and make it joyful?
Right.
Yeah.
I've made it very clear when I transition that we are having a party.
Yes.
And I will know if we don't, because I'll be at the party
You will
too.
be at the party for sure.
We need to celebrate. Yes. I've worked really hard and have gone through a lot of garbage to be where I am today. And however long I get to live, I want it to be celebrated.
Yes.
It's not going to be sad. I'm sure people will be sad. I mean, I hope they'll be sad, but I also want them to be happy for me.
Yeah.
I want them to still talk to me as if I'm there and communicate with me always. I know that I will be that active spirit, always finding a way to communicate with my loved ones.
For sure. For sure.
I do that now.
Right.
I'm like, I'm talking to you. Can you know what I'm saying?
Oh gosh.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
I love that you find joy in the journey. What a meaningful step to have. And I understand it's not going to happen right from the get-go for those who are like right in it. But trust the process and know that you're going to have those moments of joy and happiness.
Yeah.
What is your experience? You've said a couple of times that by you healing, Ben is able to heal and do the work as well, in so many words. How is that? How do we keep our loved ones who are on the other side from progressing because we are not progressing?
Because I could feel him around me. Remember, I was talking about feeling him around, and it really took a long time before I could feel him kind of spending more and more time away from me. And because when I was suffering so greatly, and it really took, a year and a half, couple years, maybe 2 years. And it was really around all the time. And then as I began to develop my own life, a different life, and I changed things, and I was pursuing the shaman path, and I was enjoying life, and I could see things, and I was kind of getting this book in my head, and I was really happy. I could feel him around less. Mm-hmm. He was around all the time. He would be checking in, but he wasn't stuck. He wasn't trapped. He was freer because I was freer. I wasn't just Ben, this is horrible. It kind of shifted my perspective a little bit. So the Dalai Lama talks about the only thing we can work with is our own mind. Can't work with anybody else's mind. Just work with our own mind. And when we work with our own mind, we change our perception. And when you change your perception, even of death and of grief, then you experience it in a different way. So you don't have to hang on to and feel like I have got to constantly be crying upset because I don't want my loved one on the other side to think that I don't love them. They already know you love them. They're thinking, come on, get over it. In fact, I was thinking about a ceremony that I was doing, and it was another time when I got a little bit caught up in it, and I was like, oh, I don't know what to do. This is so sad. Ben, what are we going to do? How am I going to celebrate? He's like, Mom, you're really kind of losing the grip here. He's like, I'm perfectly happy. And you're kind of being a bummer and a downer, and you're bringing everybody down about this. Why don't you have fun with this? And so on my website, I had this it was right around Christmas time. So I did this thing. It was called Cooking, Cookies, and Prayers. And so it was how to make this despacho, a prayer bundle that we do kind of in the Andes. And so you have colored paper and you put inside the prayer bundle everything that they love. So some cookies and some this and some glitter or some whatever they love. And you wrap this up and it can sit at the table with you to kind of remind you of them. And everybody's had fun putting this together and telling the stories. And then we're going to burn it in the fireplace at the end. But instead of making this a really heavy a prayer and we're sitting in silence and we're all grieving, what if we all just were together at the kitchen island or at the kitchen table, creating this thing and telling stories and making it fun, just like we do when we do our holiday cooking and baking. And so just switch it up, right? Yeah. Switch it up from that heavy. It doesn't have to be that.
Yeah.
We've been enculturated to believe it has to be that, but the ones on the other side, like Ben, are going, "Oi, here she goes again."
All right, enough already, Mom. Get over it.
It's really kind of funny when you think about it that way. It makes you laugh and think about all the spirits on the other side that are doing the same thing. Oh, here we go, another holiday of depression. Here we go. Don't they ever get it?
Yeah, that adds humor to it. Definitely.
Right? It just makes you see it in a different way. And then you have to think, okay, what am I doing here? And why am I doing it this way? Mm-hmm. How can I switch this up?
Yeah. Oh, I like that. I like that a lot. That's going to be challenging for those who are really thick in it, but
it is
for the moment where they're out of it.
Yeah, well, that's what we do a little bit at a time. That's why there's 16 practices. Right. So you can do one practice a week. You could make this into 16 weeks, or you could do it into 4 weeks. So it takes a little time. We have to let our brains adjust and our hearts adjust. And I'm where I am now from that person who was laying on the steps throwing up. So remember, I couldn't go upstairs. So I know how it is to be stuck and to be deeply grieving. And it took me a while. It took me this process to learn it and then to write it and then to share it. And so, yeah, it takes a little bit, but it's introducing what if there was a different way of looking at this? What if I could change my life? What if I could honor my loved one in some way? And just let that, sometimes we just plant the seed in our minds.
Yeah. Oh, that feels so much better. I've never been one, like, I've been sad when people have passed. Don't get me wrong. I mean, to my knees, devastated. But knowing what I know now, I look at transitioning so differently, and I'm so thankful that I have that insight for myself. I want that for other people in their own way, of course. I would never want to tell someone how to feel. But having that knowing and that understanding that this is so temporary and that we'll be together again really creates an opportunity to do things differently. Yeah. And that's not anything I believed growing up. Like, I went through some things to get where I'm at in that belief. And those who are listening, you will too, and you'll come to your own beliefs and you'll come to your own ways of working through grief. It doesn't have to look or be a certain way. Mm-hmm. Although people will, you did bring that up earlier, people will tell you how to grieve. They'll tell you what to do. What are some ways that you can recommend having compassion for ourselves when we are going through the grieving process?
Yeah. So some of it I touched on with the beauty. Practice beauty. Keep that in your mind. Plant that seed to practice beauty, and allow yourself to know that you're on a journey, and it's your own journey. Yeah. And nobody has the right to tell you it's time to stop. You need to move on. You need to do it differently. Nobody has that right. You have the right to take that journey at your own pace. Imagine if it as a journey in a great circle, and there's 4 parts of it. And so you might be at part 1 for a while, but never mind, at some point I might go to part 2. And then I might go to part 3, but be easing on yourself and loving to yourself. And all those things that we say that it's my fault, I should have done this differently, these things that rattle around our head, imagine that it's not real and it's not true.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then we can lighten a little. We can stand up a little taller, and we can maybe climb the steps to our bedroom instead of being stuck on the steps laying there, right?
Yeah, it really is not just step by step, but literally sometimes breath by breath,
Yeah.
moment by moment. And it is a process, and it does take time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You've traveled all over the world, so you've had experiences in all different cultures with grief, with how they navigate their way through it. Which way has been the way that has resonated with you the most, and why?
Yeah. Yeah. That's a great question, because I think I think it's all in my brain, sort of all mixed together, right? Because, and then a lot of cultures really have this concept of death as being very heavy and dark. And I think it's our fear. I think what we're afraid of, what we're mostly afraid of, is of death. If it gets down to it, people don't want to think of dying and of death. And so we make this big display at the end. So I just didn't come around very many cultures that are very joyous about it, but I think that maybe the Day of the Dead, I kind of like that idea of having the Day of the Dead and dressing up in costumes. And even though it's still a little heavy, those costumes are a little scary, but at least it gives that moment of like, this is the Day of the Dead. This is honoring the dead. And some of the, a lot of cultures really are concerned about the dead, Chinese cultures, about them not being honored and them becoming hungry ghosts. And so there's a lot of negativity around death and dying. And I think that my book is kind of a little turning some of that cultural bias and cultural perspective on its head a little bit, and saying, well, just because that's the way we've been told it has to be, doesn't really have to be that way. There's so many things in our culture that need shifting and changing. This old world order is moving away. We need new ways of interacting socially and morally and in financial institutions and all these things. And we need to dream bigger dreams, and we need to dream dreams that are outside of things that we've been told that have to be a certain way, so that we don't collude with consensual reality. That's in my book too. So collude with consensual reality. Collude is such a big word, and collude has that underpinning of doing something kind of sneaky and in quiet. And collude, think of all the things we do to stay in our neighborhood, find the right neighborhood, stay away from this kind of person or that kind of person. So we kind of do collude with the intention of deception, like we're really great people when we're really colluding in many, many ways. And so maybe we don't have to collude with traditional notions of death and grief either. Maybe we can shift it a little bit, turn it on its head, and change even that.
Mm-hmm. Do you feel like that's happening on some level already?
I do. I think so, because of what gives me hope is people doing that celebration of life.
Yeah.
And I thought, that's really good. And I thought, what if we just kept that going to every little thing, things that come up: death day, birthday, holiday, Valentine's Day. People get really sad and depressed in Valentine's Day. How can we make Valentine's Day lighter, right? How can we bring a lightness to this? Bring in the light instead of, I feel like death and grief are kind of floundering in the dark. How can we shine a little bit of light onto it so that people can see that there is a way out? There's light at the end of the tunnel. We always want to find light at the end of the tunnel.
Yes, please. When I don't see that light, I know I'm on a one-way ticket.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
And I think how people get stuck, they don't see the light. They
Yeah.
feel like they've got that one-way ticket.
It's true.
Yeah.
And being in the profession that I'm in, I'm with those people often.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's but also I love the transition they go through and then they see it. It's like I don't like people being in those spaces, but I love the beauty in it. I love the aha moments and when
Yeah.
the light comes back.
Yeah. And I think sometimes we have to be in the dark. Seeds are planted in the deep, dark earth
Yeah.
before they can sprout. So sometimes we
Absolutely.
need that time to germinate. We need that time to be the caterpillar before we become the butterfly. I think we just need that. And if that's part of it and you say that's okay, and I'm on my journey and I happen to be in that phase of my journey, that's okay. As long as we remember it's a journey and there is
Yeah.
light at the end of the tunnel.
And nothing is permanent.
Yeah, we get really stuck. So there's a guy that I knew that was a professional, never let anybody know that his son had passed away at work and kept everything to himself and went about life as usual, business as usual for 16 years and then completely had a breakdown. So we can deal with this sooner or we can deal with it later, but we're going to deal with it because it's big.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean that it is big. It will come to find you.
It will come to find you.
No matter what. At some point you're gonna have to face it.
Yeah. It's like this big elephant sitting there and it's not moving.
Yeah. No,
Right.
you're right.
So we have to come to terms with it. And what if we dress that elephant up? What if we put
Yeah.
beautiful
But
clothes
you know those glasses with the big nose and the
Yeah,
mustache?
yeah.
Those always make me laugh.
Me too. Me too.
The
Like,
clown noses.
got in trouble. People, I've been told before professionally that I laugh too much, that nobody will take me seriously. I have to, and now I embrace that. I'm like, you know what? Everybody
That's a
tried to
beautiful
squash
quality.
me, right? They squash me, made me feel insecure. Now I'm like, no, that's my light. That's my joy.
Yeah, it's your superpower.
That's my superpower. If I can
Yes.
make somebody laugh, if I can change their perception just a little, if I can help them find their way out of grief and honor their loved one and create a new life, that's what I'm about.
Yeah. Yes. I was sharing with you before the show. I have a repeat guest who spends time in my space, Natalie Peace. Everyone's familiar with her. She's a grief coach and she does the same thing. And she looks at when someone's like comes in and said, I just lost my father, I just lost my sister. She smiles at them and she's like, "Aw." And they're looking at her like she's crazy. Like, what do you mean, aw? And with a smile, right? But she
Right,
just
right.
looks at it like, how beautiful. What a beautiful place for you both to be in right now.
Both. See, that's the clue. And all of a sudden it's like, oh, they're here. The both of us. They're not gone. We're planting that seed of not gone.
Mhm. Yeah, and we're not though.
Right.
That's the thing. We're so conditioned to believe we just like you believed before your experience with Ben, how it was,
Yeah.
right? Lights out, party over.
Well, I'm going to come and visit you when I cross over. I'm going to be sitting right in your shoulder one day and say, "Hey, here I am.
I was like, "What's up, Karen?
What's up?
How's it going over on the other side?"
Here's what I learned over here. You need to know this."
I'll be listening. I love those conversations, and that's part of my journey is I've really gotten through like my own grief and the trauma I've endured because I call them my posse. I've had my posse with me.
Yeah.
And I feel like when no other human has been there to understand me or listen to me, that's when they show up the most. And I'm so grateful. I'm in so much gratitude for that.
Yeah.
You had talked about towards the end of your book about gratitude, how, you went through all of these travels all around the world and you come back and you're staying in California with your dog and you're hanging out on the beach and you were talking about getting in touch with the observer within.
Mm-hmm.
What does that mean?
Oh, yeah. So
And it all had to do with gratitude. I was like, what?
It all has to do with gratitude. So I came back to California. I'd been traveling hard and traveling a lot. And I had this idea about the book and, how am I going to do this? So all these things I'm worrying about. How am I going to find a publisher? I hadn't written the book yet. And I'm worried about the publisher. Really. And we had we'll do this around spinning and all this stuff. And then I thought to myself, I'm so caught up in worrying about where I'm going to live, where I'm going to move to, how am I going to get my little dog taken care of, all these practical things. I lost track of my practice. I have a chanting practice. So I really like chanting, the Gayatri mantra, any mantra, really. I just think chanting is a beautiful doorway to meditating for me because it quiets my mind. If I say something, if you say anything 108 times, your mind at some point just kind of relaxes. So, and then part of that chanting practice is gratitudes. What am I grateful for? So instead of complaining, and what about this and what about that, blah, blah. Wow, this is so cool to be in California, right? It's very cool to be in this place. I'm so lucky I get to go stay in Airbnbs, and I lived in one house for 25 years. Here I am traveling all over. Like I'm lucky to be the same place 25 days, right? And so, wow, this is really cool. And that's really cool. And look at the ocean. And I go every evening and I look at a sunset with my little dog and we just sit and look at the sunset and just things like that. And when you have a gratitude practice, it just shifts everything.
Yes.
And then the universe kind of really gets behind you because it's got to be really sick and tired of people complaining about it all the time about what they don't have.
Mm-hmm.
And really, I think Pema Chodron says it so poignantly. So we complain and it's such bourgeois things we complain about. Oh, my favorite coffee shop is closed. Oh, the dry cleaner closed before I didn't get my favorite table. Well, look at the Ukraine. I mean, people are losing everything in their homes and so much suffering in the world. And we're so bourgeois about the things that are just so terrible in our lives, right? So what if we switch that up too? And had gratitude. So gratitude changes our vibration. And I learned that at John of God. When I was there from the entities, they basically said, it's every day you choose. Mm-hmm. The lower emotions of sadness, fear, shame, blame, guilt, or gratitude, happiness, joy, love, you choose every day. And so choosing gratitude every day. And gratitude leads you toward love and joy. So every morning I have a little practice. I have a little thing with some tobacco by my front door and I blow into the tobacco, all the people, places, and things that I'm grateful for. And I'm going to put you on my list. And I blow in and put it out. And it's so funny. I do this every day and I've done it since I've been here. There's never a speck of tobacco to be found. So I just feel like,
it carries away.
Carried away. Yeah.
It goes where it needs to go.
Goes right where it needs to go. And it just shifts everything. It's like my day starts in gratitude. And then it's really hard for me to get all complaining and
Mm-hmm. It's a perfect way to start your day. I agree.
Yeah, it shifts everything.
It really does. I've gone through some of my hardest moments by looking at the blessing in it, the gratitude in it. It definitely shifts the vibration of the experience.
Yeah, there's always both sides, yin and the yang, the blessing and the curse. And so we get sometimes so stuck in the heaviness of it, we forget the other side. And I often tell clients, think of 5 things you're grateful for that you might have 100, but 5 things right off the top of your head. So whenever you feel darkness kind of coming for you, think about those 5 things. So they have something that's like a tool that they can just immediately go and it shifts everything. And then maybe you'll shift into 5 more things and 5 more things. And that darkness starts to recede.
Yeah, that's so good. I'm old fashioned. I still keep a day planner that's paper because I like to write things down and check them off.
Yeah.
It's my girl brain. And every day when I go to my planner for the day to see what I have scheduled, I take just a few moments and write a few things that I'm grateful for in that moment to remind me to keep on track, that even though my day's busy and filled with this, and that, not to lose track of the moments that truly matter.
Yeah. Yeah.
Gratitude always centers me and brings me back to the now.
It does, doesn't it? It really does. It's magical.
It is. It is. And I have so much to be grateful for. I'm so blessed. And being in that space really has helped me in more ways than any other practice that I have had.
Yeah. Yeah, me too, for sure. For
I
sure.
love that. I'm so glad. What are some ways that we can say we're not the ones grieving, but we have someone that we love and care about that is? What are some ways that you would suggest that we show up for them?
Yes, it's such a good question because I remember vividly people coming to my house and the things they said or didn't say or how they behaved. And I thought, oh gosh, the ones that just sat with me, that didn't offer a platitude like everything's going to be okay. No, don't think so. He's in a better place. Oh, that was a favorite one. And I
Yeah,
found
a lot of people say that.
and I'm like, got so angry. I'm thinking, well, I'm not in a better place. And actually, I'm kind of mad at him for being in a better place because that wasn't supposed to happen. So that's not working for me. So, it's the kind of things that people might be sitting there going, but really they're thinking, nope, don't believe that. Nope. Time heals all wounds. Oh, really? No, I don't think so. Right. So sometimes it's better to say nothing. People that will come in and say, what can I do for you? Do you need gas in the car? Would you like me to go pick up something at the store? Is there something I can do? People often drop off. This is one of my big pet peeves. They drop off like monster casserole and an entire cake. And so I had my refrigerator was just jam. Like you couldn't even, things would fall out of the door. I loved it when people would come with a Tupperware container, a small one, and put in my freezer. Or somebody to clean out the refrigerator, give all that food to charity. I couldn't even make it up the steps to my bedroom. How was I going to give a refrigerator full of food to charity? It wasn't going to happen. Right? You have to kind of think about this person whose life is shattered and you can't really think, and they're just not able to do things that you can do. And so maybe you could just pick up some of those things or just sit. Can I bring you some tea? Tell me a little bit about Ben. Tell me a favorite story. Let's talk about him, because that's the other, it's like a big taboo. Let's not talk about it.
That's a thing, isn't it?
Right. Let's not say the name. She's going to start crying again. So let's not have her start crying. Well, crying is a way to move energy. So what if we just say, cry? I'm right here with you.
Yeah, exactly.
But sat and cried with me. And those are the brave souls. The ones that weren't offering platitudes. Everything's going to be okay. This is great. This is great. Bye. See ya. But they just sat and they were there.
Well, and I feel like everyone is doing their best that they know how, and they feel like they're offering you comfort, and they feel like they're saying the best thing for you to bring you peace. But until you've gone through an experience, you don't know. Yeah. You just don't know. And those are really great bits of information to share with us for those who don't know, so that we can show up in a more productive way for those who are going through grief.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. And I think, some of us actually, there was a woman that was writing a whole book about what not to say, or the things that people say. And you can make a whole book of it. It was actually funny. It was sort of a spoof kind of book on it.
I think I've seen something like that.
I've seen something like that. It's just really, it's like, when you look at it that way, when you look at it from that, you can kind of clearly see what not to say and how it affects you. But we don't know what to say. And I was the same way. I wouldn't have known what to say either. So sometimes if you don't know what to say, just be.
Yeah.
We're not good at being.
Sit next to your friend. Yeah.
Right. Our culture, we're not very good at silences, silent moments, contemplation. And so just to sit quietly.
Yeah.
Hard, but
there is power in silence.
Yeah.
And comfort in silence.
Yeah. For sure.
This is so beautiful. I appreciate all of the information you shared. Those are good little reminders for me also I have a tendency to ramble on. I'm sure you've noticed. Like my questions aren't just questions. I'm like blah 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 blah. And here's my question.
No, you got a
It's
great.
something that I've worked on. It is a thing that I've worked on personally to pause and not talk so much because I feel like I need to say something because the silence is uncomfortable and awkward for a lot of people, and I try to fill that in. But over the last couple of years, I've also shifted that and been very comfortable with the silence. And I've enjoyed it, actually.
Yeah.
You wrote in your book how introverted you are. And I was like, oh, I can relate with that. I work with people all day, every day in their experiences. And when I go home, I am home.
Yeah.
And I'm exhausted from all of the emotions. I love doing it. I wouldn't change it. But to go out and do things, events and gatherings on the weekend, it's just not happening.
No. No.
I'm recharging in my sanctuary.
Yes, for sure. Yeah.
Definitely. Well, we only have a few minutes, and for those who aren't listening live or on the video where they can see all of these connections that they can jot down, let's make sure that you share your information verbally with everyone. So grab a pen and paper.
Okay. Yeah, you can find me at KarenJohnson.net. You can find all about my book and my healing practice and the little blogs and things that I've written. And then you can find me on Facebook at Karen Johnson Healing and Instagram. You can find me on Instagram. And so I'm pretty much all over. And my book is on Amazon. Also, you can Google Karen Johnson or Living Grieving.
Yeah, it pops right up.
It'll pop right up. Yeah.
It does. It's easy to find. You should not have a problem. There it is on the screen. Beautiful cover.
Thank you. Yeah. He
Beautiful
did a
cover.
fantastic job with that.
Yeah, you really are blessed to be working with them.
I just love them.
Yeah, they produce a lot of amazing products. I sell a lot of their stuff in my store. I have a lot of them myself, a lot of books and cards and great stuff.
Yeah.
They have an eye and a heart for people like you.
Oh, yeah, they do have a heart. I think it's an organization that really has a heart.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm. I'm really pleased to be one of their right authors. Yeah.
Oh, good. Yeah, I if I were you, I would be too.
Yeah.
Did I hear in your book that you were going to start a podcast? Have you done that?
No, I haven't really started a podcast. I think I'm busily writing my second book instead.
Yeah, I mean, it takes
I do have my own. I do have. If you sign into my website, KarenJohnson.net, with your email, then you get on my mailing list. And I'm going to be having a class coming up. It's going to be a 5-week class starting in late in April, right between Mother's Day and Father's Day, because a lot of grief comes up during that time. And we're going to go through all these 16 practices. So we're going to have an intro class, and we're going to do the 4 in the South and the 4 in the West and the 4 in the North and the 4 in the East. And it's really healing to do it in community with other people that are grieving, and they can reach out to each other. And then I have different newsletters. I have a newsletter that goes out about once a month, and it's always about something fun. Something different about grieving and different people that I interview. And sometimes it's even, I had a stem cell journey. I had stem cells in my back. And so I have even a journey with a doctor that, an interview with a doctor that did my stem cells.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So a lot of people don't know about alternative regenerative type medicine. So there's all kind of little gems there for people.
There is. Make sure you all check it out.
Yeah. Lots of prayers. I do a lot of free things like prayers at different holidays and things like that. And so we can all, join in these prayer bundles and add our prayers. Yeah.
I love the work that you're doing, the work that you are showing up for to help others along their journey. So much gratitude for you, Karen, for showing up tonight and sharing your story with us. I know you've touched a lot of hearts. The chat room has been active. You can even go back on YouTube and look. You're definitely appreciated. And I'm just so thankful for you and to you for showing up the way that you have.
Well,
And
I'm
thank
so
you for
thankful
spending
for
2
you.
hours with us.
Yeah, and for touching so many lives. And this is a wonderful thing that you're doing, a beautiful podcast and interviews and all that. So
Thank you.
thank you for having
I
me.
am very fortunate to be able to do something like this.
Yeah, it's fantastic.
And make sure everyone grab this book. I'm not even kidding. It's a good one. I was pleasantly surprised. I read a lot of books, and when someone shares their story, you hear about their story, but that's about it. In this book, you actually are taught ways to work through your grieving process. So there's takeaways from this book, not just from her experiences, but from the exercises that she provides for you. If you download it on Audible, there's an attached PDF worksheets that you can use. And make sure you check out her website, which is KarenJohnson.net. I am excited to follow you along with your journey and read your next book.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Until then, have a blessed journey. I'm so thankful for you, Karen.
You too. Thank you so much for having me.
Yes, of course. And to all of you, my listeners, I wouldn't be here without you. I hope you know that. I appreciate all of your support and your hanging out in the chat rooms and all the likes and follows and all the blessings that you send my way. I'm sending them right back to you. I hope you guys are all doing well, treating yourselves good, taking care of yourselves. Be good to yourselves and each other. And we'll see you next week with open phone lines for readings with Misty Rose Merck. Good night, everyone.